guys, Veyron here. Today I want to talk about the 22 things that I wish I knew before I started playing. I played in Season 3 of the beta, so I have a little bit more experience with the game than most, and I want to help all the new players out there that I can, since I truly love this game so much. Okay, maybe a bit too sentimental.
Number 1.
The first thing I want to talk about was collaboration. This game is all about collaboration. Work with those around you to make the game better, not only for yourself, but everyone around you as well. If you go back to your settlement, you can see all these other settlements around you. These people can be your friends. All you have to do is click on a tile or settlement they own, click this icon, and you can click befriend. Or you can chat with them as well. I never recommend hitting this betray button because all that does is make enemies within your own faction. These people are your friends. They are the ones that are going to help you achieve your goals. You'll have real enemies out there at some point, so don't worry about attacking these people in the early game.
Number 2.
The second thing I wanted to mention was that you need to be active in your faction and your fellowship. Once you have joined a fellowship, ask what your goals are for that fellowship. Get as involved as you can, as this is going to be the only way you can dominate this season. I will talk about this more towards the end of the video. The entire map here can be painted your color. All you have to do is make sure that you participate with what your faction's goals are. Just make sure you work with them. Trust me, you won't regret it.
Number 3.
Third thing I wanted to mention is that you should probably avoid world chat. This can be one of the most toxic places in the game. This isn't always the case for every single server, but for the most part, it's best to stay away. And never, I mean never, discuss any of your faction or fellowship plans in world chat. You will end up giving an enemy far too much information that can be used against you. It is best to stay away unless you know exactly what you are doing in world chat.
Number 4.
Your number one resource in this game is veteran players. Ask any questions that you might have of them. Look for this emblem in particular, as most experienced players are more than happy to help you. After all, we all want this game to continue to grow and thrive.
Number 5.
Once you start to get a grasp of the game, try to help those that are struggling. The more you help others, the more you can make a name for yourself and generate the relationships needed to help you through the endgame. We all enjoy the game more when we help each other.
Number 6.
I wanted to take a few ideas from my in-game fellowship, Torm, to help me get the idea out there on things that could help every new player to the game. This suggestion came from Torm's leader, Danae. If you look at this production screen, you can see the different items that affect your production. For personal production, this includes your land tiles as well as any uncanny effigies that you own. The game states that uncanny effigies fall under fellowship production, but this is actually incorrect. They are under personal production. This leaves just mysterious springs that increase your fellowship production. Faction production includes the major map points like keeps and other non-regional capital control points like Bree.
Number 7.
So this next one is a really rather simple but an extremely powerful tool. If you see someone in the chat typing in another language, you can click this icon here and it'll automatically translate it for you. It's an extremely powerful tool that not many people know about.
Number 8.
In another suggestion by Musician II, this is how you create private groups as well as join them. To create a group, click on the Create tab and then type in the desired group name that you want and click Create. This will generate a unique tag. You can look at that tag by clicking this cog here, and your tag is right there. To join a chat, you'll need this unique room identifier and enter the number into the search section. Once you enter it, the person who created the chat can approve you to join.
Number 9.
For this next one, this is a common one that trips up a lot of brand new players. Say it with me now. You can claim any land connected to any faction members within your current fort settlement range. That's this circle on this map. So this is my settlement range. Here's an example of a fort. Here's my fort's range. So for an example of that, you can see on the mini map here that you can see the circle is my movement range. So if I go to the edge of that movement range, go all the way up until I'm about towards the edge of the circle, and I try to march on this land here. See this right here, this line, this highlighted line, that is the full extent of my movement range. So if I wanted to go all the way over here, this is why I have a fort here, I can place and move here, which will make sure that I use the maximum amount of range that I can. So when I say that you can move next to any faction tile, that means I can move here because this is a faction members tile. I can move here, for example, because this is a fellowship members tile. So You don't have to be connected to a tile to move to it. You can use anyone in your faction or fellowship.
Number 10.
So leaping off of that last one, when building a fort, the way to get the most out of them is to build them at the very edge of your movement range. This will allow you to get the maximum movement range out of the next fort if you're trying to travel somewhere, or get the most amount of new land available to you. Forts can be built on any one tile production land that you own, or greater. If you want to know who is stationed in any given fort, you can click on the fort, and you can see there's actually no one stationed here right now, but if they were stationed there, you'd be able to see their faces. In order to use a fort's range, you must move an army to the given fort first, and they must become stationed there. As a bonus, if you have eagles or felbeasts, use that on your lower level commanders as pathers, since they are the fastest units in the game. A pather is a commander that you are using to travel as much distance as possible. You can have multiple low level pathers if you only give them 5 eagles or felbeasts, which is equal to 1 command unit.
Number 11.
Try to take as high of a tile as you can so that you can mock battle your commanders on them. As you can see, when you have a high level tile, like a 300, which is the max in the game, you get a lot of XP. If you go look at something like this, a 130 for example, you get a lot less XP. So what you really want to do is try to take the highest tile you can so that you can get all your commanders to level 50 as soon as possible and you can dominate the field.
Number 12.
I get this question a lot. What are the best troops that you can use? Well, to be honest with you, this is highly dependent on the commander. For example, Ewan here can be really bad if you do not utilize her correctly. But if you look at the troop type she is buffing, you can see that she has some serious cavalry buffs. So her best composition would be something like the Elves' Bow Knights and Gondor's Cataphracts, where as someone like Legolas, for example, he buffs dwarves and elven archers. So his best army composition would be something like tier 3 elven archers or tier 4 if you're elven, and guardians, or the tier 4 dwarven soldier if you're a dwarven. No two armies should be exactly alike. Make sure you examine what your commander buffs and utilize the army that's best suited for them.
Number 13.
So there are 2 different kinds of chapters in the game. Those that the whole server contributes to, and those that you have to complete individually. If you click your factions icon in the middle of the screen, you can see your server's current objective. Once this is completed, all of these things become yours. So you'll gain 200 gems. Stabilization will occur, which means factions cannot be changed after that point in the season. And Angmar and Rune get stronger. This is an AI server, so that's what happens there. And there are different things that happen at the completion of each chapter. Now, there are also those that you have to complete individually. Unfortunately, I don't have anything left to complete, so I can't exactly show you those. But these are the main goals that you'll have to complete in the early game. Once you complete these, you'll actually gain the ability to take more land. So as you see here, I have up to a capacity of 206 tiles. You'll gain 10 tiles after each chapter you complete. So this will actually increase your power production overall throughout the game.
Number 14.
So next, this sword and shield icon here is where you can find all the events, quests, and notices. This is where you can find special objectives, as well as limited time rewards. The notice tab here will show you of any upcoming events. There's no upcoming events at this time, but usually this will give you a notice of any upcoming events, such as the Heart of a Hero event, before it comes up. You want to try to complete all of these objectives before the timer runs out, as shown here.
Number 15.
When dealing with equipment, you have to understand the difference between strengthening and refining. Strengthening is when you take items of similar quality and infuse them into your equipment to increase the value of the base stats as shown here. Items can be strengthened more or less dependent on the rarity. In order to refine, the item must be at least strengthened at least one more time than it has been refined. Refining requires the consumption of the same item. This will increase the value of the additional stat and turn your silver stars, which show for strengthening, gold, which means it's been refined.
Number 16.
This next one is a suggestion by Gadget. He asked me to look at the ring upgrades here and give my opinion on what the most important things are to me. So first, I think you should upgrade this experience tile here first. This is the most important thing. This will allow your commanders to level up 5% faster, which can give you a huge advantage in player versus player encounters, as well as the ability to take keeps. Next, I would upgrade stamina. Now with stamina, this will increase your commander stamina from 120 to 150, so each movement besides recalls or summons costs 20 stamina. So with each 20 stamina recovering in 1 hour. Having an extra 30 stamina allows you to get an extra action in from full stamina, as well as another recovering action within 30 minutes of the first. Next, I would like to focus on mock battle, efficiency, and yield. So with that, you can use mock battles, which are a phenomenal tool to level up your commanders quickly. It is the best way to gain experience with no troops lost. After that, I would focus on powerful sweeping, here, which will give you a 10% damage dealt to any stationary army, and that includes player armies. After that, abundant power and wisdom, which will give you extra commander damage, whether it's focus damage or physical damage. Finally, I would focus on abundant force, which is located here, in order to lower the conscription time of your troops, so you'll be able to get troops out quicker. So there are a few other caveats that you need to remember as well. For example, anytime you're able to, you need to upgrade this dominance stat. It's the most important thing in the game, as it can give you more tiles. Remember, you can always respec your ring by clicking this button here. You need to try to fit your current goals to the best of your ability. The last caveat that I would bring up is this battle lines thing here. This is what's going to allow you to build more forts out in the field. So this is going to become important, but it's kind of going to depend on what your faction and fellowship's goals are. If you need more forts, upgrade this as soon as you can. Sometimes you don't need as many forts, so you don't have to worry about this as much, but make sure you have enough forts to cover the areas you need to cover.
Number 17.
So this next suggestion came from the current leader of our sister fellowship, Torn 2, Shtobi. One thing you should never ever do is use your gold to upgrade a low level unit. So you never want to spend your hard-earned gold on a level 1 or tier 1 unit. This is because you're not going to be using them as much as you think you are. So you're going to shift out of these pretty quickly. You're going to go from tier 1s to tier 2s, and you're not even going to have tier 2s that long. And then once you're through, you're going to start using tier 3s and tier 4s. So this is where you really want to spend your gold. As you can see here, I've upgraded these up to level 8. And the reason I did that is because these are going to be the archers that I'm going to be using in my armies at the very end of the game. So if I wasted my gold at the beginning, earlier stages of the game, I might not be able to get to level 8 at this point. I'm not even going to spend gold on my tier 3 archers, because I know that I'm going to be wanting to use these tier 4 archers way before I'll ever use the tier 3. So you should really try to focus on what you're going to be using for the majority of the game.
Number 18.
And another suggestion from Musician, they want me to explain what each of the different faction buffs are, as well as what each faction's tier 4 unit is. So for Mordor, they have a 5% increase to the resource production, and their special unit is the Ravager, which has the special ability of attacking all units at once. Now, for Gondor, they have a 5% decrease to construction time, and their special unit is the Swan Knight, which tracks all damage away from other units. Rohan has a 3% increase to march speed, and have the special unit Marshals. Marshals do a ton of damage at the beginning of combat, and it scales down as combat goes on. The Lothlorien have a commander experience gain of 5% increase, and their special unit is the March Warden, who are really hard to stun and never miss. And then for Erebor, they have a 5% reduction in conscription time, which means that they can train units faster. Their tier 4 is the Iron Warrior, which has increased damage against melee units and takes less physical damage. Isengard has a 10% subtraction in troop cost, and their special unit is a Snagathrak, which does damage to friendly units in order to increase their attack. Linden, the other elven faction, has a production yield of wood and grain of an increase of 10%. They have the special unit, the Noldor Longshot, and that unit actually is able to attack all units at once as well. Next, we have Angmar. The Angmar have a siege damage of 5% increase, so that includes targets like Bree or capitals or anything like that. So any capture point, they have increased siege. And their special unit is the Fallen. The Fallen actually get stronger as they take more damage. Next up we have Arnor. So Arnor has a reduced construction cost of 5%. Their special unit is the Ranger of the North. This Ranger is an extremely resistant ranged unit, which is kind of uncommon in the game. So lastly, Rune. They have a stamina recovery rate that is increased by 5%, and their special unit is the War Chariot. This War Chariot has bleed damage and increased damage to melee units.
Number 19.
This next one comes from the player Hoth. In the game, you will see two different kinds of speed modifiers. One of these is march speed, while the other is reposition speed. March speed is to do with your commander's army's travel speed from point to point regardless of what that point is. Reposition speed, however, is the speed buff you receive from repositioning to another fort or summoning a commander back to your settlement.
Number 20.
If you click the logo here and you select target, you can see the game's overall goals for your faction for the entire season. So each of these things is going to give you different points, and it's going to actually change which title you earn when you're going into the next season. So one of the goals is to occupy Dol Guldur, which is where the ring is held. That'll net you 600 points. Another is to have regional control of over 20 regions. We have 23 out of 20 right now, as you can see, and that'll earn you 400 points. If you're able to defend your capital from any other faction being able to take it over, that'll net you another 300 points. And then finally, this is a little bit more on the individual level. If you're able to get your ring level past level 40, you'll earn another 100 points. And if you go here and you click title, you can see how you earn each of these different titles. So for the Explorer, you just need the Ring's power. For Protector, you need the Capital Defense and the Ring's power. For Challenger, you need to occupy Dol Guldur, get Capital Defense and the Ring's power. And then finally, Dominator, which is the ultimate goal for every faction. You need to occupy Dol Guldur, have regional control of over 20 regions, have the capital defended, and to get your ring power above 40. Now you can also spend these points in the store here. As you can see, there's different point values and you can earn different things based on how many points you earn. This is the only kind of special one because you have to earn the Dominator title in order to obtain it.
Number 21.
And another suggestion by Shtobi, he wanted to know what you could keep going into the next season. So here, if you go to this location here and you go after this season, this will tell you exactly what you'll keep. The following will always be retained. The commander will be retained, commander's respect will be retained, commander's level will be reset, commander's skills will be reset, commander's skill points from level upgrades will be reset, commander's skill points from other sources will be retained, influence will be retained. For equipment, all of your equipment will be retained. The equipment strengthening will be retained, and the equipment's effects will be retained. Your items will be retained. Now there are some special items that have the seasonal mark that you need to use them before the season, otherwise you'll lose them. Any friends that you add will be retained, and if you create a group chat, that will also be retained. So this is what will be reset at the beginning of each season. The map will be completely reset, and server progress will be reset. All land will be reset as well. Your resources will all be reset. Your ring appearance and level and everything involved with your ring will be reset as well. You will no longer have the same structures you did, as you'll just start with your settlement in a new location, and all your units will be reset. Your fellowship will also be reset, and then at the end of each season, you get to change your faction if you so choose.
Number 22.
Whoa, you guys are crazy for making it this far in the video. So the very last thing that Danae wanted me to discuss was prestige. And genuinely, prestige is just a fancy number to show you how much time you've spent in PvP. So in the grand scheme of things, it's rather meaningless and really only used to brag about how much player versus player combat you have taken a part of. You can use it to track your own progress if you so desire, but if someone tries to tell you that they're really great because they have so much prestige, yeah, sure, they've played a lot of PvP combat, but that combat could have been them losing and getting their lands taken away from them. So just always take that with a grain of salt. As always, I just wanted to thank you guys so much for staying through the whole video. This video obviously took a lot of work for me. I put my heart and soul into it. So if you could please subscribe, share it wherever you can, I'd greatly appreciate it. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next one.